viewers, welcome back to Daily Retro. Today we're going to be talking to you guys about the best console that I never owned, and that is the Nintendo GameCube, which has become a firm favourite of mine recently, and I've only owned it a couple of years now and thought it was just the perfect time to sort of share my love for this console with you guys. So I only picked this up, as I mentioned, a couple of years ago, and that was after seeing this console in a kiosk in Retro Games HQ in Swindon, with the game in the background, as you see, is Mario Kart Double Dash. Mario Kart Double Dash is the only Mario Kart in existence where you can have two players in one kart, and you can't even do that on the Switch version, which is why it's become a firm favourite for me and the wife to play multiplayer, so she can sit on the back and I can do the driving while she fires at the other players. And very much like the N64, GameCube has 4 controller ports, so you can have 2 karts with 2 players in each kart and make it absolute chaos, which has been absolutely awesome when we tried that out with friends. So the reason for my love for this console of late has just been finding out about the amount of incredible mods that have been done to the GameCube. So the GameCube was released in May 2002, didn't sell very well compared to the PlayStation 2 most notably, and the Xbox beat it on sales as well. I think it only sold 21 million-ish, and it was mainly down to the lack of DVD playback. So obviously the PlayStation 2 could play your DVDs as well as play your games, so you didn't have to buy 2 pieces of hardware for watching your physical media. Just had mini DVD, which obviously was not a format that everyone used. And the most notable mod I want to talk to you guys about, well, there's several, but is the removal of the disk drive. So this is the original disk drive from the console, and obviously disk drives have an end of life. They will only read discs a certain amount of time. This one still works, but has been replaced by the Gamecube Gc Loader, which has been very nicely installed into this console. And that is a plug and play mod. So what I mean by that is the ribbon cable that attached the motherboard to the disk drive, the GC Loader is essentially using that same ribbon cable to get the GC Loader. And that means that you've got a 32GB SD card with Swiss on, which is freely available software to put in the GameCube. And what that means is GameCube games are around 1.5 gigabytes, and that's how big the discs were, and that means you can fit quite a lot of games on a 32 gig. Obviously you can put in more. I think Swiss supports up to 128 gigabytes, which would support most of the GameCube library, to be honest. And that means that for things like the Game Boy player, which you see on the bottom of this console, you do not need the disc to play Game Boy games, which I just think is awesome. Never have to worry about discs getting scratched or just not working anymore. And because only one of my friends when I was younger owned the GameCube, obviously it wasn't a very common console in households, that's why I don't have as much attachment to it. But I still think the games are absolutely incredible. You've got games like Mario Kart Double Dash and Mario Golf and Superstar Soccer, loads of other multiplayer goodness. You've even got a really good Metroid game on there, and yeah, loads of amazing games that I'm sure you will either know about or go and research. And the next mod I'd like to talk about is, well, there's lots of them, but a small one is this upgraded memory card. So that's 128 megabytes, as opposed to the 2002 standard 4 megabyte memory card. And as some of you may not know, some of the games on GameCube had big storage requirements for memory cards. So Animal Crossing is one of the biggest ones, Animal Crossing actually came with its own memory card because it needed so much space to store the sort of data. But with this £5 extra big memory card, which 128 meg is nothing nowadays, only cost a few pounds on eBay. Don't have that issue anymore. And yeah, well, I guess next we'll talk about the rear of this console. So GameCube consoles, I think it's called the DOL001, has two outputs. So you've got the analog output and the digital output. Back in the day, you could only buy digital cables from Nintendo, and they did not share that source code with other people. So other people could not use any sort of adapters. But the times have changed in the last sort of 10 to 12 years with the invention of the GC Video project. So that is open source software to convert, sort of backwards engineer what this outputs to HDMI. And that came first of all in the form of this adapter, which is the Carby by Insurrection Industries, and that has the original port, very high quality engineering, and outputs directly to HDMI. So as you can see here, that plugs in absolute flush, not much movement, feels like an adapter was made for it, to be honest. And when the GameCube boots up, I think the menus are in 240i, and then when you boot into a game it's 480, which obviously still looks quite good on a HD TV. 480 is just a plain standard output. Most TVs will support it. And yeah, the HD aspect of this console just makes everything look so amazing, and I think these games hold up so well graphically, even compared to some PS2 titles, to be honest. And that is mainly down, like I say, to the modding community behind this console. And obviously there's other parts of this console that Nintendo did very well that wasn't really sort of noted for at the time, and that is the Wavebird. So this is the Wavebird receiver. This is an official Nintendo wireless controller, and obviously with it being official, very high quality controller. It does feel like an Xbox controller. It still works absolutely perfectly even after all this time, and just takes two AA's in the back, so I just put rechargeables in there, and absolutely love playing with that controller. I've got 3 wired black controllers as well for when we do multiplayer, because we're not too far from the console anyway, so there's no issue with wires not being long enough, which is really good. But these Wavebird controllers are quite expensive, so the most expensive bit is the receiver. So if you're ever at a car boot and you see a receiver and it's cheap, buy it, because they're worth about £40 to £50 alone. The actual controller themselves, are worth maybe £20 to £30, but together they're worth £60–70 on eBay. And I did have to pay, I think, £60 for my one. That's why I've only got one, because obviously if you were to buy 4 of them and put them all on different channels, that's something I forgot to mention, but they've got a slider on the bottom so you can choose 20 different radio channels. So if you did have multiple Wavebirds, then they wouldn't fight with each other about which signal to use. And that, yeah, this is one of my favourite controllers of any console, and that adds to why I love the GameCube so much. And that is pretty much it, to be honest. This console has just become a favourite of mine mainly because of the game library, and the fact that it has such a community behind it means I'm not too worried about the sort of preservation aspect of this console. I know it will last a long time. It only has one moving part, which is the fan, now that the disk drive's been removed. That's obviously just like a cheap PC fan. Could be replaced at any point by anyone who knows how to unplug something from a motherboard. Very simple electronics. and obviously recap it after 30-40 years or so. But as this console is coming up to 20 years old, there's nothing to worry about at the moment. But as this console is not as sought after, I would highly recommend picking one up. Obviously, the way things are going, a lot of people are sort of leaning towards PlayStation 2 collections at the moment, but you'll often find that actual GameCube hardware is not too expensive, and obviously having the GC Loader in there means I never have to buy GameCube games, which the actual physical discs of are going up in value, so you wouldn't have to worry about that, and you'd have to worry, as I mentioned, about the Game Boy Player disc dying, so you can always play your Game Boy games in HD, which I just think is absolutely awesome. I just got one here for example, and that's just an original Game Boy game. And I think that is multi-region as well, so you can play any Game Boy games in there. And that Game Boy Player adapter for the bottom of the GameCube, I just think it looks so sleek. It's not sort of a clunky add-on for a console. It really looks like it's meant to be there, which is what it should look like. And I think you can pick them up for about £20 or £30 without the disc. And the disc is actually something that's, well, I think it might even be worth more than the actual hardware, which is why, again, the GC Loader is a good way to go. So I hope you enjoyed this chat, guys. If you've got any questions about the GameCube, or if you've got any games you love on that console, let me know down in the comments. And hope you enjoyed this episode. I appreciate it's more sort of about the preservation aspect of the GameCube. But we'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.